Hello, everyone. This is Jerry Strauss. This is Celebrity Stage Stories, and we're going to get into what you came to see, to hear, to experience really quickly. And in the coming episodes, we're going to do it even more quickly. But because we're just kicking things off, I want to just give you a little bit of insight into what you're getting yourself into. Hopefully, all good things. Good things. So, my name is Jerry Strauss, as we said. For those of you who may have followed me from my former podcast projects like Hollywood Happy Place, or those of you who may have known me from a lot of the work that I've written in many of your favorite magazines over the last years, or if you know me from my work in the sports entertainment, the pro wrestling world, as an announcer, any of that, or if you're just friends or family, I've got no shame. Thank you for following me. Thank you for coming on over to this new project, Celebrity Stage Stories. And you might be asking yourself, if you're just jumping on, what is this show all about? Well, a few years ago, I had an opportunity to interview Sheryl Crow for a website that I worked for called Paste Magazine, paste.com. And I was given the opportunity to talk to her, but nobody wanted it to be a standard, regular old interview about her new album, about her upcoming tour. She had all that going on, but we wanted to do something different. So, what I came up with was a sort of a theme. I called it Behind the Microphone at the time. And because we were pushing her tour, I focused the interview entirely on her history as a live performer from the very, very beginning, how she got started when she first stood up in front of a live crowd and sang her heart out, and kind of how that sensibility and how that skill and her love affair with being on stage evolved as she became a recording artist, as she became famous and started playing to bigger and bigger crowds. And it was really, really great. It turned out better than I'd hoped, quite frankly. And it occurred to me at the time, this would be a really cool thing to do on a regular basis with a variety of different musical artists, because everyone is going to have their own unique journey, their own path, their own unique tips and tricks and experiences, funny stories. Everyone's just got their own thing and find their own way. And so I kind of shelved that for a couple of years. But then, when looking to do something new in the podcast world, I said, what if we went back to that idea, but instead of focusing entirely on musicians, on rock artists, on the music world, what if we just went haywire? What if we went buck wild and talked to anybody in the entertainment world who has any sort of relevance to this sensibility whatsoever, which is pretty much anybody. People from Broadway, comedians. It just goes on and on. Sitcom stars. Everybody in entertainment is inherently an entertainer, and they have to figure out a way to perhaps conquer their fears of being in front of people and to find a way to make that connection with their audience. That's the name of the game. That's what we're going to learn about, talk about, discuss, and share here on Celebrity Stage Stories. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I think each and every week we're going to be talking to wildly different people from wildly different walks of life. But trust me, this is going to be stuff that not only are we all, I think, inherently kind of interested in sort of the backstage, behind the scenes, inner workings of different types of entertainment. But I think we can all relate to it in a way, whether it's, conquering that fear of getting up in front of our fourth grade class to deliver some kind of a report, or something related to our own jobs or our own lives, or just, being able to conquer the fear of what we want the most. And I think that's the experience that a lot of these people are going to share. Can't wait to dig into it with you. Enough said. Thank you for being here. Our first guest is someone that, if you did come over from my last podcast, Hollywood Happy Place, she's going to be familiar. She was actually my last interview, my last guest for that podcast before the switchover. So she's going to sound real familiar. And as a matter of fact, if you go to our website, Celebrity Stage Stories, or if you go to our pages on iTunes or Apple or Spotify, etc., you're going to see a bunch of episodes there called Catching Up With dot 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 Maya Bialik, this person, that person. There's a bunch of episodes that we posted that are actually from older projects, and we've included them as sort of just classic episodes to give you some extra bonus content. So it'll be a lot of fun, hopefully, for you guys in your spare time to do your research, go back in the archives, and get some extra entertainment from some of those older chats. But this week we talked to CJ Perry. You may know her if you're a WWE fan as Lana. You may know her if you're a movie fan from movies like Pitch Perfect and Pitch Perfect 2. And if you're a reality show fan, yeah, she's a big part of E! Network's Total Divas and has been for a few years as well. So she is an awesome all-around entertainer. You can catch that archived first chat that we had with her, as we said, catching up with CJ, Lana Perry. And that's where we first kind of learned about her crazy past, growing up in Russia largely, training in ballet and just overall performing, the very serious nature of the training that she experienced that may have led her to be able to handle the rigors of being a WWE superstar and that lifestyle. And we just go into it so much more here. We focus a lot on what she has to do and what she has done as a WWE superstar to kind of raise her profile, so to speak, to get the fans to react to her, to make things work while she's out there performing, just to kind of get a handle on what it takes to climb the ladder, rise the ranks, alongside her husband, of course, Rusev, who is also a big part of that show, as well as he could be seen on E! Total Divas as well. So, without further ado, let's get back into it. She's here again. We thank her so much for being the first ever guest here on Celebrity Stage Stories. She is CJ Perry. She's Lana, and she's coming up next.
Hi everyone, my name is Sam Kirby. I am the resident producer, sound engineer, and editor of Celebrity Stage Stories. Are you interested in hilarious movie reviews from an aspiring filmmaker himself? If you answered yes or a tentative maybe to that question, check out my movie review podcast, Cinema Stories, with Sam Kirby on Spreaker, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. Check me out on Instagram at SamKirby17 or on Twitter at Samuel_J_Kirby if you're interested in seeing my photography and my own work. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Now that you know a little bit more about me, let's get to know Jerry's next guest on Celebrity Stage Stories.
We talked a couple of months ago for the former version of the show, which was Hollywood Happy Place, and we talked all about you, all about all different kinds of aspects of your career. And now we are on to the new iteration of this show, which is Celebrity Stage Stories, which is going to be drilling down. Yeah, we're going to be talking about it's just the experience of performing in front of people. And you are such a cool person to talk to under this theme, because and people don't realize this has essentially been your life, because you're now a WWE superstar, which in my opinion is one of the purest forms of performing in front of a live crowd that exists still in 2018.
but
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
but people don't realize that you've got this whole crazy backstory, and we talked a little about it last time. But you're essentially, I mean, in my eyes, you're still essentially Natasha Romanoff. You are the Black Widow. You are an Avenger. You're
Yeah.
so let's
Yeah.
so let's go back to that a little. Yeah. So let's go back to it a little bit now, all the way to the beginning, really. What was your first time that you remember in your life performing in front of an audience?
Oh my gosh. I feel that I was always performing in front of people. Like I would probably make my family sit down so I could perform in front of them, or my relatives. So I was always performing. Probably I could probably remember as young as 3 making my neighbors sit down and doing some dance or theater or acting. But I do definitely remember when I was 5, and we have the videotapes of me in a dance recital, and I was a little ballerina and did a little jazz dance as well and tap. And looking back at it, I'm like, what was I doing? I had to giggle the whole time. I couldn't be serious for a second. And I'm like, wow, I was a real happy child. I just was laughing my little butt off the entire time and like giggling. And I think it was probably good that I went to Russia, because they definitely instilled some serious discipline and seriousness in me. That's for sure. Because at 5 years old, that was the American recital. That was the American little dance recital that I had the giggles in. I just couldn't stop laughing and talking to people around me. I'm like, I would have been whooped silly by my Russian ballet teachers. So that was probably like vividly of what I remember performing in front of a crowd. And then from there, I just always had dance recitals and ballet and concert. Like I started playing the piano when I was 7 years old. I played the piano for 8 years, so I performed a lot classical piano pieces, and I figure skated, and gosh, I did it all. And then if I wasn't doing that, then I was putting on my own plays. I was putting on my own concerts. I was putting on my own dog shows.
Dog shows.
Yeah, I had a Labrador. I had a Labrador and had puppies. And so I was only 10 when she had 10 puppies, and I took care of them. And then I decided I also was always, besides performing, I always wanted to be an entertainer and a storyteller. I also always I was a business person at a very young age. I was always trying to make a dime and hustle everyone. So I realized I can make money off of a dog show. So I would charge everyone $5 to come and watch my dog perform. And all it was me basically saying, sit, roll, jump. Ridiculous things. But always, like, it didn't matter if it was that or if I was figure skating and putting on, I would charge people to come in and watch us, and put together figure skating pieces and concerts and acting, and just was always trying to entertain, tell stories, but also make money off of doing it.
That's the way to do it. Hey, it's show business, right?
Exactly. I understood the show part and the business part.
It's really interesting to go back to, people who kind of have these instincts as kids, because, you're talking about those first few years where you're having fun and you're kind of in control of what you do, and it's all kind of fun and games and laughing and smiling. And then you go to Russia, like you said, and now suddenly you're, as you're evolving as an entertainer, the training becomes more serious, the tone becomes more serious. How did that affect your passion and your enthusiasm for what you were doing?
It's interesting because it's just so different over there. It's so serious. Like everything they do with so much passion and so much discipline, but very, very serious. And I think there was a part of me that's why I'm very, very thankful for my upbringing, because I think I did stand out over there because there's something about Americans, Americans as a whole, they are happy people. They're happy people. They smile a lot more. They laugh. Like, I don't even want to say laugh a lot more, but like off the bat, when you meet an American, they're gonna smile and say hello. Off the bat, when you meet a Russian, they're not going to smile and they're not going to say hello because you don't know them. It's a different culture. And so I think that I stood out over there because I was like always smiling, and I still had that like, even though I moved there when I was really young, I was only like 5.5 years old. I think it was just, that's my parents are American. And so it's kind of, just, embedded in me. But then very quickly I learned the seriousness, the discipline. And the discipline is what sets me apart, I think, than a lot of people. I don't want to say a lot of Americans, because a lot of Americans are disciplined, but I think that's what really made me successful in WWE, is because when I started in WWE and at NXT in our performance center in Orlando, I took it like I was at the ballet school in Russia. Like, I dedicated 24 hours a day to it, 7 days a week. Like, everything was about it. Everything I did was about developing my character, about being the best athlete that I could be, about being the best storyteller. And it was just that discipline, I think, is what makes you successful. If you look at the greats, Michael Jackson, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Michael Jordan, they all are so disciplined. And you kind of have to be a little bit nutty. And some people, I'm sure, look at me as a complete nutcase, but I'm like, I don't care. I'm disciplined and I'm passionate. So you can't teach that.
As they say, yeah. And it's interesting that you bring that up, because something I wanted to mention to you is a phrase that was popping in my head when I was thinking about your background. And I realize I hear it all the time as it relates to pro wrestling, which is, it ain't ballet. Which is interesting to me, because that's people kind of saying that ballet is a lot easier physically than wrestling. I've got a feeling that's not necessarily the case. How was your experience, physically going through the rigors of serious ballet training?
Well, it's always people that never dance that said that. So people that are former dancers that I work with, like Carmella, Naomi, we always roll our eyes, like literally roll our eyes at that saying, because we're like, you have no idea. And what dance, and not just ballet, but what dance does, it's really, really hard on the body. And, anyone that's danced any form of it, I mean, you get like just your hips and your bones and your like everything. It's just so much wear and tear, and starting at a very, very, very young age, because we are athletes. That people can argue it as much as they want, but if gymnasts are in the Olympics, ballet, breakdancing, all of that should be in the Olympics too. But it's just so subjective, and I think that's why. But we are 100% athletes, and I think as a ballerina, as a former ballerina, I mean, it is very intense on the body. Very, very, very. The wear and tear, to me, is as hard, if not worse, as professional wrestling. It's just, it's just like, the wear and tear is insane, and you start at such a young age. Like, I wasn't really flexible, so they would take two splits. I mean, they would take two chairs, and they would, at 10 years old, and they would just put my two legs on the two separate chairs and just push me down to break me, so I would become flexible. And so it's just really intense. So they would put your feet underneath like a little cabinet just to break your feet. So it's just a different, it's a different mentality. And if they feel like you can't be broken in, then you're out. You're cut. You're cut. Goodbye. Sorry, can't become a professional dancer. And in Russia, the only way to become a professional dancer is basically through this school. It's kind of similar to WWE. If you want to really, I mean, yeah, you can go to New Japan and, be in the indies, but if you want to perform at a huge level, WWE is kind of one of the only few places, really, if you want to wrestle in front of 100,000 people. So it's kind of the same. So I just kind of roll my eye, and I'm just like, you have no idea what you're talking about, but okay. But wrestling is a contact sport, so it's a different type of intensity. It's a different. You have to be like tough in the sense of like, yeah, you are going to. You're in a fight. We are fighting. So it's a different type. You can't comparing apples and oranges at the end of the day.
Well, something else that I think is kind of similar between the two is sort of that really uneven ratio between, especially in the beginning, I think when you're training to become a WWE superstar, a really uneven ratio between the amount of time that you spend training in a vacuum without a crowd watching, just repetition and just learning the ropes, quote unquote, and dancing all the hours and days and weeks and months and years that you spend training for a relatively short amount of time to be in that promised land, actually performing in front of people. And I feel like it's almost that same kind of effect, almost like training for an Olympic sport, where maybe for that period of time, the pain kind of goes away. You deal with whatever physical condition you're in, and it just kind of becomes like an out-of-body experience for you. Do you find that it's a similar situation even when you're beat up, but when you get the opportunity to perform in front of a ring, does it feel like when you were doing the same thing dancing? Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Oh, definitely. Definitely. Like the adrenaline rush, the high, the adrenaline rush that you get in performing, if it's professional wrestling, if it's cutting a promo, if it's dancing, if it's ballet, if it's breakdancing, if it's all of that, there's such an adrenaline rush that goes through your entire body. It is absolutely incredible. It's the live crowd. And I think that, the reason why I love WWE so much, there's nothing in the world like it, and I'm obsessed, is because it brings all the loves of my life together into one place, and I get to do it all. I don't have to pick one thing. I get to do it all, and that's why it is the greatest show in the world, because I get to go out there and I get to do it all. And the thing about acting is that especially when you do TV and film, is that, I love acting. I love creating a character. I love storytelling and really diving into creating a compelling character. And with TV and film, I love TV and film. But the thing about both TV and film is that you don't get to perform in front of a live audience. So you don't get that gratification of performing in front of a live audience. And so in theater, you get that live audience, but theater, it's such a different type of vibe, right? It's not like it's not like a sporting event. It's not even like breakdancing. With breakdancing, if you perform in front of a live crowd, people are like screaming and reacting. I mean, I hate to say it's like, think of You Got Served, but like, think of You Got Served. That's exactly how it is. The breakdancing world is like, people react to like, all the steps, all the step up to the street, step up, like the way that it's such an interactive, people are chanting things, booing, cheering. And, you don't get that in TV and film. And then also in theater, it's so much more of a stoic. People are just watching and just maybe a little clap here and there. And, so that's what I really missed when I was, when I was acting. I was like, I missed the live performance of dancing, a live performance of performing in front of a crowd that is engaged and reacting. And WWE just has it all. We're actors, we're storytellers. It's a TV show. And that's what we can't forget. At the end of the day, this is a TV show. There are cameras. It's a live TV show, which is even more insane. And then we get to go in there and we get to fight. That's how we resolve our conflict. It's a soap opera where we have to resolve all our conflicts fighting it out in a ring, which is just amazing, especially if you want to punch people in the face sometimes. And then you just have it all. Like, I get to dance in my entrance. I had a dance off with Naomi. I mean, I'm like, this is literally me and her and I are looking at each other, and we're like, how cool is our lives? Like, we love to dance, and we're having a dance battle in a ring on live TV, and then we get to fight it out. We get to wrestle afterwards. I mean, it's just so cool. So I love it. No, that's why WWE is the best, because there's nothing like that.
And it's interesting because it's 2018. WWE is, of course, just this huge entertainment conglomerate. Like you said, it's a TV show, but I mean, even beyond that, it's movies and all kinds of things on the internet. It's just there's
Totally.
like corners of it everywhere, but the essence of it is still in a lot of ways entertaining in the middle of a ring with a live crowd all around you.
Yeah.
And you know, it's making that crowd go crazy. It's entertaining them. Is that still, in your eyes, in your experience as a superstar today, is that still a really important thing as far as your success as a WWE superstar, just finding ways to get those big crowd reactions?
Oh, for sure. I mean, you have to grab the brass ring from that. You have to grab the brass ring, and you have to grab it. I mean, you better figure out a way. If you go out there and there's cricket, then you are not doing your job, and you better figure it out real quick of how to get that crowd going. And I feel like I've been very blessed. I think it goes back to being just an insane human. That I've been very, very blessed to be able to get the crowd to react. And that's why I love live events, because we get to go out there and we get to wrestle. And I mean, if I, as a bad guy, you know, at live events right now, I'm a bad guy, and it's just so much fun to get the crowd. I mean, they cheer for me when I come out, and they love me, and just to turn them around, and by the end, they just want to see Oscar whoop my ass, and it's great. I'm like, I've done my job.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
just so much fun. You know, to me, it's even more fun to go out there and be able to have a reaction where the crowd is cheering me and chanting, Lana's the best, Lana number one, or chanting maybe Lana Day. And then somehow within this first 60 seconds, us girls, what we love is how can we turn the crowd completely around, that they start booing me and cheering the other girls. And it's just fun, and we do it.
So that's a really great lead-in, because I want to drill down on that a little bit more. And, you know, certainly as someone who came into WWE without that experience in the wrestling world, it has to have been a roller coaster of learning experiences for you, figuring out ways to do all that. I mean, that is a superior skill, to be able to control, to be able to manipulate a crowd, to be able to kind of get what you want out of them by giving them what they want. Are there any specific lessons that you've learned along the way, any tips or tricks or anything that you've kind of picked up that enable you to do what you do so well, to make those crowds do what you're looking for?
I would say listen. You have to listen. You have to listen. Yeah. And you have to be patient. And I think it's interesting. I'm not a very patient person in life at all, but you have to be like, you just have to if you in that ring, if you rush, they talk about like stepping on your own pop type of thing. So if you it doesn't matter if it's a promo, if you're wrestling, if you go too fast, the crowd has not digested what they just saw. And that applies into everything. So if I say something and then all of a sudden the crowd is reacting, they're booing or cheering of what I just said. If I start talking, then they're going to be quiet because they're going to be listening. And it's the same with when I'm fighting and when I'm competing in that ring. If I do something and then they react and I don't let it settle and let them digest it, and I've moved on to the next thing, then they're not going to react as loud as they can. And that is the biggest thing I learned from John Cena when we worked with Rusev, and I worked with John Cena, is like, he takes his time. He takes his time. And when they say when you think you're going slow, go slower. That's like an understatement. When you think you're going too slow, go slower. And it is easier when you have someone like John or The Rock coming in that where the noise is so loud that it's like you don't ever feel that awkward silence. But I guarantee you they will start, even if it's sometimes you feel like, okay, why are they not making as much noise as I want them to? They will make noise eventually. And it's just being patient. And if you watch movies or TV shows, the best TV shows are the ones where all of a sudden there is a moment of stillness. And you're like, holy crap, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Are they going to kiss? Are they not going to kiss? Are they going to punch each other? Are they going to fight? Is someone going to die? What is happening? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. That is the reaction that you want. If you look at like how to get crowds to react, that is what you have. It's the suspense. It's waiting. I'm a big fan of like all of Shonda Rhimes' shows, and all the time that I start screaming, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Is they're just standing there. They're just standing there, and you don't know what's going to happen. Like, what is going to happen? Oh my God. And that's where it applies the same with professional wrestling. It applies if it's a promo wrestling. I feel like it applies to anything, because you have to let the audience think, oh my gosh, what is about to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And if you don't let that cliffhanger dangle, then they've moved on. You've already given them the answer.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my biggest thing that I would say.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because your background as someone who has been, performed in movies and on TV, et cetera, I think you almost have that ability to approach things from an actor's perspective too. What was the experience like for you? You mentioned working with someone like John Cena, who's obviously at the top of the WWE, top of the wrestling profession. What was it like sharing screen time with Dwayne Johnson, with The Rock, because he not only has been in the top of that world, but also kind of brings that actor's mentality. Was that a learning experience for you?
Oh, for sure. And he's someone that would be go even slower. And I think I was just so fortunate, like really, really, really fortunate when I first started in WWE to work with such iconic people. That's such, iconic. And unfortunately, a lot of us girls, we teach each other. And so that's the one thing that I think of the future generations will benefit. But like our generation of women, the girl, the four horsewomen, all of us come from this new generation of women. We, unless you're in a guy's story, and unless you're, valeting or managing a guy, or maybe, in Maurice's situation and Nikki Bella's situation, an intergender tag, you don't really get to learn from these iconic men. And the women are just kind of teaching each other. And I think you learn, and Vicky was great. Vicky Guerrero was great too, but it was another person that is really, really incredible. And she helped me, she retired about 4 months after I started on the main roster, maybe 6 months after I started on the main roster. And she helped me a lot. But when she retired, there was not, unless you're in there with Stephanie McMahon and, who's obviously iconic, it's, pacing is a big thing. And the men, they teach the older, the veterans teach the younger men. And so if it's Big Show, if it's The Rock, if it's John Cena, if it's Kane, if it's Undertaker, you get in with these men that have so much years of experience, Goldust even, and they're able to be like, no, you need to do this or go slower. They can teach a rookie, and that's how you learn so much quicker, because you're in the ring with someone with so much knowledge and experience. And so I was just really, really fortunate, and I'm very grateful to be able to go in there and be in the ring with people that are incredible at promos. Chris Jericho is another one with incredible pacing. John, with Paul Heyman, we've been able to work live events with him. And The Rock is this I'll never forget, he we're about to say something. He's like, nope. And like under his breath, nope, wait. And sure enough, because they were starting to do Rocky chants.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the whole 17,000 people at the Barclay Center is doing Rocky chants. And if I would have started talking, I would have stepped on that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so you learn that type of stuff. You start to go, okay, we're just gonna wait. We're gonna stand here. We're gonna be looking. We're just gonna let that build. And it's patience.
Yeah, it's
you know, flight of life more.
I guess it's the performer's instinct, no matter what world you're performing in, and you're certainly on your way to finding that level of instinct in WWE as you continue to rise and rise and rise. Couple of quick questions before we let you go, CJ, Lana Perry.
I was going to say something real quick about. Sorry, I just remembered something. That another thing on this whole thing about. Yeah. I think that another thing that John taught Rusev and I was, and I think this applies to anyone in definitely live performance, but also just in any form of, show business, is calculated risk. And if you're not willing to take calculated risk, you're going to only go so far. It's the people that are iconic and the people that are great, the people that are extraordinary, is because they've taken what John Cena calls calculated risk. And it's basically you're taking a risk. You might be breaking the rules. You might be doing something that you didn't ask. You might be doing something that you're not sure will work or not work, or they might react or not react. And you're taking that risk that it might fail, but it might succeed. And by taking that risk, that's the only way you become incredible. But John goes, you have to be prepared that risk will fail. And I'll never forget that one time that John, he had us do something, and it basically was this. I'm going to give it this is a story of the story with Rusev and I and John, when Rusev was like blaming everything on me. 2015, all his failures and his was all Lana's fault. And so we were at a live event, and John goes, okay, because this is the whole place is chanting, we want Lana. So John goes, the ref is you're gonna try to slap me or something, and the ref is gonna catch you and kick you out. So we do the spot, the ref kicks me out, the place boos. We're at Madison Square Garden, the whole place boos the ref. John comes back and he goes, well, that was a big failure. He goes, we're never doing that again. He goes, that was a big failure. And he goes, okay, I'm going to think about it. The next day he comes back. He goes, okay, we're going to try this. We want Lana at start. You're going to get up. Rusev is going to tell you, get down. You're going to get up again when they're chanting, we want Lana on the apron. He's going to tell you to get down. And then by the third time, when I tell Rusev, he's going to kick you out. And we did it. He kicks me out. The entire place boos the crap out of Rusev, and it leads right into the finish. Like, Rusev is yelling at me, and it leads right into John Cena and him. And John goes, that's it. And we did it at Chicago at Extreme Rules, and that was the beginning of basically the next story that we did for 6 months, and it came off of a live event. But it's like taking that calculated risk and taking a risk that we might fail. And the first thing that we did was not what we wanted. And then we figured out something that was so epic and led into a story that we did for 6 months. So, and that's just like one example of being like, but like John said, you always have to be prepared that when you take that calculated risk, take responsibility if it fails. If it fails, and learn from it.
Absolutely. That's great. That's a really great story. Thank you for sharing that. That's really cool. Just, try to figure things out along the way, see what works, see what doesn't. Yeah. And I guess, again, that's a key element clearly as we go on through this show and we talk to all different people from all different worlds. I think that's going to be something we're going to be coming across time and time again. So I want to ask you. As before we let you go, and thank you so much for joining us this time out on Celebrity Stage Stories. I want to ask you if you can remember a couple of quick things to finish things off, wrestling or otherwise. Maybe a memory of performing for an audience that an embarrassing moment, something that sticks with you that maybe has motivated you or taught you a lesson over the course of time. And after that, maybe a great moment, one of the most memorable moments, and it could be in front of those 80,000 people. It could be in front of 300 people. It could be when you were 14 years old, or it could be yesterday. But one of those standout moments that you'll always remember.
Oof, an embarrassing moment.
Oh, come on now.
That's a hard one. No, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to figure out something that an embarrassing moment that I've learned something from. But no, I guess the most embarrassing moment is I don't know. The most embarrassing moment is probably on accident peeing myself a little bit in the wrestling ring. Is definitely the most embarrassing moment. But none of us want that. None of the girls want to talk about it, but we all have the same problem. And then one time I was like, I think I peed myself a little bit in the locker room. I said that I was like, I think I peed myself a little bit, and all the girls go, "Oh my gosh, we do that all the time." I was like, "Oh great, I feel so much better. It's not just me."
Okay, I want to ask you.
Really embarrassing.
I want to ask you when and where that happened, but I'm also kind of scared that there's going to be some weirdos out there who are like, "Ooh, I was there," and it's going to be special to them, which is
I wouldn't even be able to tell you because it just sometimes happens, and apparently it happens. I mean, it's just I don't know. Maybe that's the guys. I'll just the guys if that happens to them, or if it's just a girl thing.
We just wouldn't tell you. It probably happens to everybody.
Probably.
Okay.
It's so embarrassing.
Well, how about one of your great moments performing in front? One of your favorite moments, and I'm assuming it's not the same moment.
Maybe the same match? No. Gosh, I have so many. Money in the Bank for sure would be. There's always new favorite moments. Like my favorite moment was at Royal Rumble when I was like coming out to being a part of the first ever women's Royal Rumble, and we were main eventing. I mean, I get emotional just thinking about it, that I was able to be a part of history and be a part of, so many great women coming back, so many great women now currently, and just to be a part of that is just epic. But, now I would say that was my favorite moment for a while, but now I would say Money in the Bank ladder match. I never thought I would be in a ladder match. And I think the last time I talked to you, I don't even know if I got my first win yet on SmackDown Live. And then just several weeks later, I got a singles match, and I got my first win on SmackDown Live. That happened to be a qualifying match for the ladder match, the Money in the Bank ladder match. So
there you go.
It's just for me, it's just a true testimony of my life, and I think I love that my character on TV really reflects my story, my real life story of perseverance and resiliency. And I might get shut down 99 times, I might lose 99 times, I might get 99 no's and rejected before I get that one yes. But that one yes is going to change my life, and that's my story, and that's my life story, and that's my story in WWE. And I think that qualifying match that got me into Money in the Bank really truly reflected my life story.
And what you've done, I think, just reflects the nature of pro wrestling, of WWE. And we go back to it, but the essence of it all is that if you're good at your job, which you obviously are, you're getting, better and better all the time, and becoming a bigger and bigger and more desired commodity, just a bigger star that people want to see. We're going to get to see more of you. And thankfully, that's where it seems to all be going. So I think you should certainly hang your hat on that,
Thank Thank
It's
you.
just
It was so much fun. That match was so much fun. Oh, I'm like, I might not have won it this year because Alexa cheated, but I'm coming for it next year.
there you go. There you go. And yeah, we can't wait to see where you go between this year and next year too. It's really cool to see you. I mean, since the last time we talked to now, even just leaps and bounds and just doing a lot of things, and the people are with you every step of the way, so you know it's real.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot. That means a lot, and I'm very thankful for all my fans and followers and people that have believed in me. Because that it's very encouraging, and for the people that doubted me, I've slowly but surely am proving them wrong. So that's what life is all about. Is
absolutely
shutting your doubters up.
Exactly. That's what. And hey, that's what the brave do. The brave take the stage. They take the wrestling ring, whatever their stage is, and they face those fears and they face those doubters. And hey, they find the people who embrace them back. So listen, we don't want to keep you, and of course you're rolling on. People can catch you all over the place on tour with WWE, on TV, on live events. Of course, WWE.com is probably the easiest place to go to find out when Lana is coming to your neck of the woods. How else do you want people to follow you? What else do you want them to check out?
Yes. Instagram, the Lana WWE on Instagram. I always give updates on where you can see me and what's going on. Plus, I'm like really entertaining and great. But Twitter as well. Twitter, it's Lana at Lana WWE, and on Facebook Lana WWE. But if you follow me on those places, especially Facebook and Instagram, you can, I give updates of where I'm going, city-wise, events. Total Diva Season 8 is going to be coming out. I don't have the exact date, but we just wrapped filming Total Divas Season 8, and that's on E, so that you're going to see me dealing with a lot of these things that we just talked about, which is really, really great. And I think this season we have a great, great cast, and it's really great. Just our stories are all, I think, really heartfelt and really real, really, really, really relatable stories.
Cool. So we'll look forward to you. We'll look forward to you live. We'll look forward to you on TV. We'll look forward to you on Tuesday nights, on Sunday night pay-per-views, on Total Divas. Total Divas on Wednesday nights. Cool. So you pretty much got our week on lock. We'll be looking for lots and lots of you. Thank you so much for being a part of this episode, Lana. It was great to catch up with you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.